About your name?
Yes, yes.
Only the banks.
Only the banks.
Oops, I don't want that to flip.
30 seconds.
It's pointed the wrong way.
Well.
Seconds.
Okay.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2 credits, and...
Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole because we like to go into topics more deeply. What I'm wearing today is a hat that was a gift given to me by somebody who came over from the West Coast to celebrate, if you can call the word celebrate, 9/11. And what he did was he took a CNN hat and he X'd out the C and he put an M. So it's MNN, Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And the purpose of wearing this hat and having the show that I'm going to have is to consider what is alternative media, and when we're not satisfied with what corporate media is telling us, what are our alternatives? What resources do we have? So I'm very pleased to present to you a special guest. His name is Posr Posr. Thank you for joining me, Posr.
Well, thank you for having me, Paul.
First of all, can you explain your name?
Yes, the spelling of my name is Posr, and that's an acronym for Prisoner of Self-Respect.
I see.
I was at a demonstration back in '87 trying to bring enlightenment and attention to the homeless situation that we have in New York, and which is nationwide.
Right.
And a police officer, well, actually what happens, we went through the Grand Central Terminal station at 42nd between Lex and Park, which is private property. So the police got pissed. So when we came out, they were very agitated. We got to 2nd Avenue, and we were supposed to go uptown, but the banner went down a little bit just so we could switch it around, and this one police officer started to push everyone. And when he came to push me, I moved my arms like this, and he said, "Oh, assaulting an officer? You are dead." He then took his hands, grabbed me, and shook himself, which was a signal to the other officers to assault me. Some of the demonstrators intervened, and I was able to escape injury, but of course I was arrested, charged with resisting arrest, and you know how the gamut goes. While I was sitting in the cell, I said, "Why am I a prisoner?" I said, "I'm a prisoner of self-respect." I've been looking to change my name for a while up until that point, because I wanted to adopt an African name, or a name that was somewhat African sounding or something.
Right.
So being a prisoner of self-respect, I said, that's a good name.
Right.
So I took Prisoner of Self-Respect, Posr, and I did it twice because I couldn't feel a better name, so I just did it Posr Posr.
Posr Posr, I see.
Yeah.
You know, there's another way to look at the name, the prisoner of self-respect. The Delphic oracle that Socrates referred to said, "Know thyself." And it's often said that our self-image, the image that we have from society, from our family, and from our culture, may not be as unbounded as our soul really is, and that we're imprisoned by our image. But by coming out when you said prisoner of self-respect, it really attracted my attention, because if we look into what imprisons us, we can start to learn what will free us. So now, along those lines...
Sounds rational.
How did you get into public access television? You've been a producer since '95.
I came to be involved in a court case back in, I believe it was 92 or 93. And as a result of that case, I wanted to sue people who were parties against me. I then went to get the records from the case, and the judge wouldn't give me the records. Judge Weisberg, Franklin R. Weisberg. And the statutes clearly state that if you're a party, you're entitled to the records. And somehow I got the idea that if there were a camera in the courtroom, the judge would not have broken the law and denied me the camera, denied me the records. So I began to study the camera in the courtroom laws and rules and regulations, and I realized that I needed to actually get the message out because I couldn't do it alone, which is why he denied me the records in the first place.
Right.
And so was it Xavier Warlord, actually. I knew that he was involved in public access. He's a writer, does plays, did a play about Adam Abdul Hakim, formerly known as Larry Davis, who was involved in the shootout against the police officers. He was selling drugs for them, and they wanted to kill him. Anyway, Xavier was involved in public access, and I realized that public access was a way to influence a large number of people at one time.
Right.
And so I got into public access. That was in 95.
In 95. And what was the name of your show?
The name of the show was Pro Se Views. And the word pro se refers to people who represent themselves. It even applies to people who've been to law school, but basically it's people who haven't been to law school who represent themselves in cases because they either don't trust lawyers or they can't afford lawyers because the lawyers that they've had have jerked them around and drained all their money to the point where they have to represent themselves.
Well, sometimes I've noticed that we're called upon now, because of the condition of our society, for very courageous people to step forward. And they can come in all avenues. They can be attorneys, too. But I remember I had one guest who was a Holocaust survivor. She was in Auschwitz when she was 14. And her father had been a merchant going in different countries prior to World War II.
Gisela Weishaus.
Yeah, Gisela Weishaus. And she was trying to get the money back that he deposited in Swiss banks. And everyone said, this is ridiculous. This little Gisela Weishaus is going to sue the entire country of Switzerland. But she carried forward with it, and pretty soon it sort of got hijacked, the momentum of what she was doing. And lo and behold, after all is said and done, she still hasn't gotten the money that was there, and they took even more. And she says, from the mouth of an observant Jewish lady who was in Auschwitz at 14, that she was treated worse by the lawyers. And she continues on, and she said that she fears to get lawyers because as soon as she does, they get influenced. And it wasn't like they maybe wanted to do it, but there was such pressure on whatever's going on. But she keeps going forward, and you can see she comes from a really good family with, a lot of integrity and a real sense of correctness, which is what I sense about you, because I want to say to the viewers that I met Posr Posr in St. Mark's Church when I was just going to make the announcement that Sabrina Rivera and I have agreed to do a TV show together. And that's what I wanted to announce. I knew that the ballot initiative of Les Jamison wasn't the ballot initiative that I was supporting, but I wasn't going to say anything against it. I just stepped up to the microphones in order to make that announcement, and you could see there was a ripple in the audience because people knew about this tension between different theories of what caused 9/11.
Not to cut you off, but I really wish you had actually mentioned about the
ballot initiative,
the original ballot initiative, because then I would have been able to I would have caught that on camera, and which is part of the reason why we're even here today. And it's invaluable to get into. And I guess we'll do it later, but a city attorney with subpoena power who
absolutely.
is empowered to subpoena people to testify about what happened on 9/11.
I know you would appreciate that, but I didn't know who you were. See, it was a quandary. I knew it wasn't my gig, and already on the blogs people have said, well, Paula, you hijacked it. And that my intention was always harmony. My focus is on nonviolent communication. The Concordia Foundation is a 501c3. It can't take any kind of political donations. I don't want political donations. Those should go over to 911realinitiative.org. So in the spirit of having people trust me, Frank Morales and Les Jamison, I didn't want to step on their toes that way.
They already covered. They got big toes.
They got big toes. Well, anyway, later on, everybody was waiting for Cynthia McKinney, so they were saving their tape. And so Joe Friendly said the only people that caught the sound was you. So we got 47 seconds worth, which was enough. So I invited you over to my place, and I said, I'm going to teach you how to do YouTube, because you said you weren't doing it.
I wasn't.
And we're going to get you set up with an account, because New York needs the power of more eyes on it. And throughout the world, I have 1,000 subscribers. I have a lot of subscribers actually in India, because I have a spiritual aspect to my show too. But my feeling is, if you can get the best of collective intention and know that we as Americans are really struggling to work it out, that there will be there'll be more goodwill from abroad towards us to help us out of some very difficult problems. And I know that people like you who have been denied a voice has made our country weak. And that's what I'm dedicated to help those voices be heard. And when you came over to my house, you said you didn't want to put up what you videotaped. You wanted to know about the Real Ballot Initiative. And I said, great. And then I got Carl Pearson on the phone. And
who's in the studio?
Who's in the studio now. We're going to do a show with him after we finish learning more about your experiences. So there we go. I was impressed. Straight away, you wanted to learn what was the Real Initiative.
Well, you know, the image of authority, which is what was being portrayed at St. Mark's that day when Cynthia McKinney spoke, is a very misleading, very programmed response, a conditioned response that we have. And the resultant effect of that program is that when new information comes that challenges the old information, we discard the new information simply because we trust the person bringing the old information, when in fact, you know, they may not have...
they may not warrant it.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
I think I'd be a little more direct and say that people may not have the best of intentions.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, be more direct.
They may have their own.
Right.
You know, there have been so many big names I've come across who, in a time when integrity should prevail, when you think it would prevail, it simply has given way because this person was his friend or her friend. Or,
right.
You know, and
well, my hope is that when Sabrina Rivera comes on my show with actually somebody who was initially a detractor of mine, he really thought that I represented the bad aspects of investigating 9/11. And as he studied the situation more, he learned more, and we became friends, and not only friends, I would say powerful allies. Simply because if somebody comes from a different perspective, if you can stay in connection with that perspective, different perspectives is going to mean a collective strategy where you're going to get different viewpoints that will make achieving your goal more effective. You just don't want the differences to be so much that you lose faith in the importance of staying connected to people with the different viewpoints. So perhaps when Sabrina Rivera comes on the show, we can start to bring some unity among the investigating 9/11 so that we don't have to depend on authorities whose integrity may be, like you say, not up to scratch.
Not up to scratch. You know, just before we get off into my just having gotten out of prison, my camera in the court, you know, it was said right there in front of St. Mark's that the city attorney general is a side issue.
Right. That was when I confronted Dr. William Pepper.
Yeah.
And I said, why did you throw off the city attorney general? And he said it was a side issue. And that just broke my heart, because Frank Morales had given a whole litany of wrongs that the momentum would be, as you look into 9/11, you could help all these other wrongs. So why, oh why, not have the city attorney general?
I couldn't see why it was then. I didn't know the issue at that point.
Right.
And now that I've learned at least a little bit more about it, I still don't see why a city attorney general is not part of. Why is that a side issue? You're going to have someone bringing it forth, and it also sets a precedent that we can have other city attorney generals voted for by the people directly as a ballot initiative that can catch on throughout America and bring us closer to a democracy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That has more direct people position content.
Well, we're going to have you do a show with Carl, so you can bring all that up. But let's have the viewers understand a little bit more about Posr Posr. Now, after you had this run-in, so to speak, with the cameras, it was actually a security man who posed as a federal officer that you were resisting?
Let me give you a little background first, because the whole cameras in the court started some 30, 40 years ago with the Hauptmann trial. And what happened in the Hauptmann trial was that the reporters and the cameras, it was like they were just running all over the courtroom, just distracting from focus on the witnesses. And I don't know why a judge would allow that. He could just simply say, don't move, don't move, don't move. No flashbulbs. You know, it's very simple. Didn't do that. Hauptmann appealed, and there is the first instance where we see about problems about cameras in the court. Then the state started to adopt individual laws. Move forward. We had the OJ experience, and because he wasn't convicted, I think that basically white America did not like cameras because cameras were there and he was not convicted. We learned some things about Furman, who would just, he said if we didn't have evidence, we'd manufacture it. And the blood that was taken out by Detective Van Hatter, he brought it back with less blood. And
oh man, I heard that they didn't even check the housekeeper. The butler did it. It turns out she had association with the Mossad, and they never even brought her up. And she would have been somebody highly likely to be jealous of a new woman on the scene.
Well, this is going to change the whole face of detective one-hour crime stories.
Anyway, but the point is you're saying that somehow white America was unhappy with that verdict. So they felt unsure and unsafe about black people getting the right justice, and they associated it with cameras. That's fascinating.
To this very day. As if everyone watching a court proceeding is somehow a bad thing.
Tainting it, huh?
Simply because O.J. was not convicted. He's got another trial going on now.
So that hurt your process because you were already sort of a champion of cameras in the courtroom?
The effect, I guess, yes, the effect did have the camera in the courtroom effect. I mean, I started my crusade or my...
Crusade, that's a good word.
Yeah, in 95. That was when Judge Weisberg denied me those records. So in other words, the records were denied, and you thought, oh, if I had a camera here, I could prove that the records were denied for no reason. Embarrass,
okay.
Not that I couldn't prove it, because I could prove it right to him. I cited the law to him, but the law didn't make a difference. What I could do with a camera was show people that a judge is in fact breaking the law, lawlessly denying records that I should have, because I wanted the records because I wanted to sue, and when you sue, you should have the records so you can be very accurate about what you
I know you're a very accurate person.
So I wanted the camera in. Came to now in the course of trying to get the cameras in, I studied the camera and the court laws for about 4 years before I ever came to a conclusion that the state laws and the federal laws are unconstitutional and lawless. Because every state has its camera laws, but then the feds have their kind of one law for them. And in the course of this, I'm studying the law and reading cases and decisions, and I'm becoming somewhat knowledgeable of research and conclusions. And so I started a group called the Posr Alliance, and we had our first meeting right up in the conference room here at M&N.
Here at M&N.
Yes. In that group were people who were doing their own cases, and there was a lot of family court.
DeAndrea, right?
DeAndrea Murray, Darrell at this point.
Yeah.
And when I heard about her case, it appeared to me to be the perfect case to try to bring a camera into the courtroom.
Right.
Because
What was the perfect case?
DeAndrea's case.
DeAndrea's case. Because I thought it was Lynn Stewart's case.
Well, Lynn Stewart's case, I was just giving a little background up to how that that happened, and I'll jump to that in just a minute as we.
I think we've got five minutes, right?
We've got 5 minutes.
I think. How many minutes do we have?
We have about 7 minutes.
7 minutes, okay. Because I also want to get into your M&N experience.
Let me then jump from that first camera in the court case to the case that wound me up in federal prison. Lynn Stewart was charged with, I believe, conspiracy, attempting to help the sheik get his message out. I thought that was a very important case because the prosecutors wanted to use her recorded testimony with her client in her case. Now, attorney-client privilege says, what I say to my client, no one can use, no one can even listen to. But they wanted to, I think under the Patriot Act, use that. So I filed a motion to film that case. The judge denied the motion but wouldn't deal with the arguments, because I had a Fourth Amendment argument, Sherman Act argument, Ninth Amendment argument. I came in on the day of the trial, before the trial started, with my camera to argue my case. I was the attorney on the case because I filed the motion as a member of the press.
You wanted a record.
Exactly. But as a member of the press, I filed this motion, which the judge didn't deal with. I walk in, put it
Talk
through
about a one-man show.
Yeah. People really in general don't realize how a camera will stop injustice.
Oh, you're not kidding. I had some thugs after me at St. Mark's,
Yeah.
You didn't even see you could hear a little bit, go away, leave us alone. But, I had the camera
I caught
there.
that.
You caught that, yeah.
I heard that. I think maybe because cameras were on, when Frank Morales was trying to physically move you from the mic, he stopped. I think only because the cameras were there.
And this is the culmination of a lot of frustration, because I've made appeals to the office just to be able to speak on nonviolent communication, not even the issues of 9/11, just so we get the platform from which we can communicate respectfully to everyone with different opinions.
It's fundamental.
Yeah.
It's fundamental.
Right.
I walked in, got past the X-ray machine, and I started to walk in, and a contract special security officer by the name of Russo said, "You can't go in." I tried to explain to him my right to go in. He didn't want to hear it, so I tried to walk around him. He got in my way. I tried to explain again. He didn't want to hear it. I went this way. He got in my way. I tried to explain to him. He didn't want to hear it. I walked that way, and he just grabbed me, basically tried to break my arm and forced me to the ground. Get to...
Wow, break your arm?
Yeah, he was...
And you're a Vietnam vet, right?
Yeah, he
so
was,
you know physical assault.
I work out pretty much, and I can defend myself. Yes.
So it was a very hostile action.
It was
extremely
and
hostile.
it was somewhat painful.
Right,
well.
right.
Get to trial, and I'm charged with assaulting a federal officer. As it turns out, those guys in the blue suits in federal court buildings are not federal officers. They're contract special security officers, but they're contract officers.
Right.
Just like the military, just like over in Iraq, the people that are building things, they're contractors.
It's so scary because there's no oversight. There's no constitutional oversight.
So I'm charged with assaulting a federal officer, and I have the contract, section C28D, that says he can't even represent himself as a federal officer.
And he did.
And he did. He had a badge, a round badge, and he said, "You see the blue in the middle?" Showed it to the jury. That wasn't in the transcript.
Wow.
Was not in the transcript.
So that's why you needed a camera.
Exactly. Gone. What was it? His identification card is not supposed to have any government logo either, but that was in the transcript. But the badge was not in the transcript. So
you mean he showed to the jury?
Yes.
A federal badge?
Yes. Special Deputy United States Marshal.
Talk about perjury. I mean, a camera would bust that straight away.
That would be in the transcript today if I could have had a camera in the courtroom. And I made a motion for that camera.
So the jury was influenced that way?
The
jury made their decision based on thinking that was a federal officer.
Yes.
Wow. So they lied to the jury.
Yes. I asked for the transcript to be corrected, but it wasn't. But in any event, what happened was before sentencing, I found some statements from the United States Marshal's office who had testified before a subcommittee, Senate subcommittee. And in this testimony, it said these contract security personnel are not federal officers, even though they wear a square shield that says USMS. Right. The Marshal's office themselves testified before Senate subcommittee that they are not federal officers.
Okay, so now clarify for me to make sure I'm up to speed here. A federal officer would be responsible to know the law that you would not expect of some contracted security firm.
They were also expected to know the law. They have to be trained in the law.
Oh dear, we only have 2 minutes. Yeah, let's keep going over because this is important. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, they're responsible to know. They have training, and the contract calls for training. And one of the areas of training is the court camera rules, which they do not train very well for. They're not.
They want them not to know the law.
Exactly. Now, this is now what happened though. Officer Russo, I believe, was someone who was going to actually tell the truth about what happened. So the prosecution didn't present Russo. They presented someone by the name of Peter J. Fokianos. And who then, Fokianos testified that he's a federal officer, and he's the one that showed this badge.
Oh, I see.
I got the statement. I'm right at sentencing in the first trial, because there were 2 trials. I'm at sentencing. And I bring up the statement to the judge. I'm saying, look at this statement. The Marshal Service themselves said he's not a federal officer. How can you sentence me for assaulting a federal officer when the Marshal Service themselves say he's not a federal officer? He said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he denied my motion not to be sentenced and to have a new trial, even though I had the Marshal statement in my hand.
So that's what got you into federal prison?
Well, what happened was Magistrate Moss, he sentenced me to 6 months. I filed a notice of appeal. And when I filed my notice of appeal, I asked the first clerk, will you file it? Well, are you going to spin that wheel so I can see who you pick? And he said, no, they do that upstairs. So where is upstairs? Because I want to see, because that's one of the things they do in court. If you're not there watching them pick the name out, how do you know that they did it randomly? How do you know it wasn't set up? So I go upstairs and to another clerk's office, and he says, no, they do it downstairs. Right? So now upstairs send me downstairs, and downstairs sending me upstairs.
Yeah, right.
So I went
I've
to
been through that.
what's called the duty officer. There's always a duty judge on. Knock on the judge's door. Happened to be a Judge McKenna. He's listening to me tell him about this, and he takes my notice of appeal. Shortly thereafter, I get a phone call from the magistrate that he never had jurisdiction to do the trial. And he's ordering me to come back before him. And I said, well, wait a minute. If you didn't have jurisdiction to do the trial, where do you get the jurisdiction to order me to come before you? It doesn't make sense. I don't have jurisdiction over you, but I'm ordering you to come before me.
Right. That happens a lot, you know. John Guglino said that he was supposed to cut the channels during 9/11 and the day after. From who? Just these thugs appear. What jurisdiction do they have?
Well, you know,
Where do they come from?
I had an experience in MNN. As a matter of fact, I'm banned.
Yeah, let's talk
from
about
MNN
MNN
right now. I'm banned right this minute as I'm sitting here. And I came in here.
By who? Who banned you?
Actually, Cyril Phipps banned me. But you know, I came in here prepared not to leave.
Well, we've got the cameras rolling.
If they want to call the police and charge me with trespassing, they can do that, and we can deal with this now because now I'm off probation, off the federal probation. And,
I see.
We'll deal with that. You know.
Does it look like things are happening? I think it's okay.
It may be. So far, I've only seen one person here from that time.
Okay.
So.
Well, we're going to deal with this more
deal with
methodically
that. Yes,
because John Guglino's story is coming out, and I think MNN dropped the ball on 9/11. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was overseas at the time, and it's incredible that somebody would say, shut the phones down.
Cut the channels. He said the one day that MNN should have been around for no reason, it wasn't. And the next day, I think Anthony Riddle called up from D.C. and he said to John, keep the channels open. And so in order to do that, he locked the doors. So it's quite intense. And anything else to say before we wrap up? Because I want to get you to Carl.
Well, I guess if I had any sort of last words, before you blindfold me and give me the cigarette, cameras in the court will stop injustice because it will stop judges from being able to do lawless things behind closed doors.
Right. It's the whole idea of transparency. And I think, you know, at one time they didn't think they'd get cameras into the legislative offices. Didn't CNN start that?
And then they got
So why not get cameras in the court? We just don't want to make it another theater, of course.
Well, you know, that word theater is so vague and so often, you know, it's just a label.
Yeah.
It's just that you call it a theater because there's a camera. That's a false.
No, but I mean, you don't want to make shows for the camera. You want the camera to be on real life.
Yeah.
This is exactly. You want reality TV. You don't want fake courts.
And you want cases covered that are public significance.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, Christie, there was a federal person who said that the winds, that 9/11 area was safe when it wasn't safe.
Right.
You know, that should be on camera. Everybody should be able to see that.
Right, and we should do it in such a way that there's a safety net for whistleblowers to come out, because there's probably a lot of people who want to do the right thing.
They need it most of all.
They need it most of all.
Most of all.
Right. So I'm really so happy that you've been a champion for this. Last night somebody came over and said, now, don't you be going taking cameras into court. And I said, that is not the message. And I want to really thank you for your courage, for what you've done, and I'm really looking forward to working with you more on Rabbit Hole Central TV.
Okay, I feel likewise as honored, and I'm glad you stood your ground in front of those microphones.
Thank you. And I'm glad you kept the tapes rolling.
Yes, you never know what you're going to catch.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Okay.
And thank you for joining me. My name is Paula Gloria, and this has been an episode Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. Thanks. So now what I think to do is to have you and Carl by yourselves. Is that good?
That's good.
Is that good, Carl? I'd like you by yourself with him.
Depends what Paul wants to talk about.
He's going to ask him about the 9/11 ballot initiative. Okay? So you're
That
kind
good? All right. Okay.
Just say St. Mark's, I learned